Welcome to 28 Songs Later, Day 6. Today we've got a remix of a Wiley track. I do like Wiley a lot, I do like UK grime a lot, don't know that much about it, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm dropping huge knowledge, know what I'm talking about. Have a few compilations, bunch of Wiley albums, stuff like that, skipped all that. So this is a remix of Wiley's track Paper, and it's also the conclusion to Day 4. I mentioned that I was going to rearrange my workflow, and that's exactly what this was. Essentially the reason I selected this track, it's not for any particularly special reason, it's more that I was looking through a list of acapellas because I wanted an acapella for a rap beat I'd made, and this is what I found this, and I was like, oh cool, I like Wiley, I like this track, cool, let's do this. So basically I've not really changed the layout that much. I've moved the MPD from the lower desk, I'll show you that in a second, up to this higher desk here, this lower desk, the higher desk here. And I've made a template in Ableton of 16 tracks, all the equalizers and filters and other effects that I always use on tracks, and some send return effects because I really underuse send return effects. A drum rack in the first, so I split that into half of them are MIDI, half of them are audio channels in Ableton, and then I've got a drum rack and a sampler. No drum rack with samplers. So I've used the sampler for this track to cut up a drum and bass beat. I really just cut it up and took the beats out of it, and then I screwed around a bit. I just messed around with stuff I've never really messed around with before, like I arpeggiated the hi-hats to get this kind of rolling, like up hi-hats going like it sounds quite cool. So I messed around with those. That was kind of the first sound I had after the drums. Then I laid out the beat live on the MPD. Yeah, I laid out the beat live, and then kind of sort of slightly quantized it for bits that I just wanted to, sound a bit more tight, because that's one thing you always, like, the cool thing about laying out a beat live and recording it is you get a live feeling to it. It's very, presuming you have a decent sense of rhythm, it's always slightly off, usually, and that's actually good. That gives you a kind of cooler, more natural sound. And you can actually simulate that using grooves in Ableton, and I've done that before, but I actually got the effect from doing it live this time. So it's cool. I've integrated the MPD and the microKORG into my workflow this time. I'm using the microKORG for some pads, really just to test up the setup. I didn't really need it, but I just wanted to test it out because that was the mission for today. And mission successful. I quite like this song. So really, I'm just going to do a quick pan of my setup, show you everything, and then I'm going to switch to the screen and show you the song because there's a lot to show. So here's, sorry for the camera movement. So essentially this is the MPD. I've moved the MPD from here up to here. I didn't put the hats there, I was showing somebody this. It's signed by Managuchi. I was showing somebody that yesterday, as shown. So I've moved this from there to there, and I've set up everything. This really now is my send returns, and then I have two control banks for assignable knobs on the fly. These faders are set up. These faders are set up. A and B, they're all assigned, and then C, I haven't assigned those yet. As you can see, this is lit up, so that tells me that I haven't assigned them. The lights are enable disable track, so if I want to fast mute things, kill switches, that's there. The pads are literally just MPD pads, MPC pads, that's normal, and that's pretty much it really. So over here the microKORG is still there, there's nothing really changed, but it's all integrated to Ableton now. So I'm going to switch to the screen now, and yeah, I'm going to switch over to the computer and we'll go through this track. So cool. Okay, so cool. Yeah, this is the Wiley remix. So I'm not going to go through parts of the song really, like, and just play things to you. I just want to show you sort of done here. So really this is just an example here. You can see some live automation that I recorded with the send return knobs that I previously pointed out. Just really as a kind of, it was just fun to do, so I just wanted to mess around with that and gave it kind of a bit more character. The majority, all the synths are a VST I've talked about before, Mini SID, which is a SID style Commodore 64 VST that I really like. And there's three, it's a monophonic synth, so I've layered three of them to get different sounds, and I've changed various notes and created chords with them. So one of them runs the bass, one of them is the mids, and one of them is this really kind of high arpeggiated thing. This is the KORG pads. So how I've done it is I have MIDI to the KORG. Now normally I would render the track afterwards, right, so that if I ever open it again I don't have to turn on my KORG and, you know, I'd set everything up the same to get the same sound. and which I have done. I do have it rendered, but I wanted to show you how I'd done it, so you understood. So basically, this sends MIDI data to the Korg, and it comes back in through this channel. So it's two channel operation there. This is the audio for the Wiley acapella. It was all one block, obviously. I've cut it up and created this kind of "I got it" chorus here that I've used 3 times, and then I've got the verses. So it's pretty short, but anyway. Here's all the tracks I haven't used, and here's my send returns. So if you look here, as you can see, a lot more stuff going on than previous things, even though there's actually less in the song. Mainly because what I do is I've created these. I've got 1 MIDI, and this is, well, here, this is 2 MIDI, and here, there's 3 MIDI, 4 MIDI, 5 MIDI, 6 MIDI, 7 MIDI, and then there's 8 audio through 16 audio. So that tells me, like the M and A tell me if it's MIDI or audio, because you couldn't hot swap them, which kind of annoyed me, because the reason I need to make them before is so that I can have my MIDI setup already has learnt all of the channels. Here I've assigned everything, so that way I'll never have to reassign everything on MP32 every time I open the file. Interesting, yeah, the most interesting thing really is the hi-hat arpeggiation. So I've got all this stuff is sliced beats, so you can hear this. That sound there is the kind of arpeggiate hats, and there's this bass drum, this big bass drum, snare, and then open hi-hats. Everything has a bunch of delay on it because to give that airy feel, but it's all through a send return. The big kind of bass drum is cool actually. I found this by accident, that I can run kind of things through from the sampler through these MIDI effects in Ableton, which if you don't use them, you should really look into. They're really cool. You can do a lot of cool stuff with them. I've known about them for a while, but I don't use them that much. Mainly, like they can make they'll automatically make chords for you and arpeggiate stuff and make, you know, scales and inversions of stuff you've written. So that if you're a square pusher, as you click everything instead of playing stuff live, then you can just invert stuff. So you have a lot less effort to do it, really. You can create chords out of single notes and stuff like that. It's really cool. So what I did is I thought, like, okay, I'll just whack in this some MIDI effects and see what happens to the bass drum. And the bass drum got this amazing sound when I whacked it through, like, literally just one of the chord presets. It goes like, it's got like cool at the top, and it's awesome. So that's the first kind of big sound I kept. So you hear that at the end of bars every now and then. But yeah, so as well as that, so there's those two have MIDI effects on, the hat arpeggiator and the bass drum. But not really that much else to say. I know I said I had a lot to say, but it's more a lot to show. Everything has it's a nice preset. I have a nice setup now. I've got some filter delay on the arpeggiate hi-hats. It's a preset again. It's a MIDI effect arpeggiator. I literally tried to just mess around with the presets and got exactly what I want. Change some of the stuff. Change some of the settings just to suit. But yeah, you can get some cool effects. So I would fully recommend like beat slicing using slice to MIDI and the sampler, and then trying out some MIDI effects on that, because you can get some really cool effects that I didn't really know you could. So that's cool. I've grouped all of the chip tune like kind of synths together so I could do stuff to them, and so that you can see, because it's kind of harder to understand everything that's going on now. There's a lot more stuff on the screen. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna whack up the song now, and I'll see you in day 7. I just want to talk quickly. One thing I'm going to be doing now, as well as the normal videos, I'm going to put up a special video every 7 days of me analyzing the previous 7 songs. So I'm going to go over them and say what I hate about them, and possibly what I like about them, but usually it's going to be things I dislike about them. I'm going to be very critical, because I think that's really good to do, to be self-critical about yourself, and it's what I do most of the time, but it's quite hard to do sometimes until you've had some time afterwards and perspective. So peace out. I'm going to upload this now. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.